He fought in her name, now she is mad. He made her look weak. The roar of the crowd hadn't faded when she slapped him. It wasn't a soft reprimand. It cracked through the arena like a whip, drawing silence from thousands. The scent of sun-baked sand and blood hung in the air. Dust still curled in the wind. A tiger growled nearby, unsettled by the shift in energy. Commander Elias Ward stood tall in the silence, the sting of Kaelara's hand burning on his cheek. His right hand still dripped with blue ichor, the blood of the alien warrior he had just dropped in the sand. Kaelara's voice trembled with fury as she spat, "Elias, how dare you step into my duel?" Elias didn't flinch. He met her glowing amber eyes, breathing hard from the fight. His arms were still slick with blood. The warrior she had been facing was unconscious at the edge of the ring. He said nothing. Kaelara's voice rose, furious. "You humiliated me." Her name was known across the stars, Kaelara, daughter of the bloodline of Eshthari, sacred huntress of the flame-bound court, royal. Her ears, tipped in orange glowing fur, were laid flat in rage now. Her ceremonial armor caught the twin suns in a blaze of gold. Her people, the nobility of Arrakesh, stood in the gallery in stunned silence, ashamed, watching. Elias finally spoke, his voice low and raw. "I fought in your name." Kaelara stepped in closer. "I never asked for your protection. I never needed it." "You were losing," Elias said, his jaw tightening. Kaelara's eyes flashed. "That was the point. I was supposed to lose with honor. That was the arrangement." She spat the next words like venom. "You made me look weak. You made me look like I needed a human to defend me." "I made sure you lived," Elias answered, firm now. Kaelara's fury didn't cool. "You made me a joke." Silence dropped between them like a stone. The tigers circling the arena snarled again, sensing the tension. Heat shimmered in waves from the stone walls. Somewhere high in the seats, a priest clicked his tongue in open disapproval. Kaelara turned from him, pacing in tight, furious circles. Her hands were balled into fists. "You don't understand what you've done, Elias. This wasn't just a duel. It was an act of submission, a political gesture. I was conceding to stop a war." Elias took a step toward her. "You were conceding to a man who would have crushed you. I saw it. He wasn't going to beat you. He was going to destroy you." Kaelara spun back to face him. "So you destroyed me first?" "No," Elias said, quieter now. "I saved you." Kaelara's voice cracked. "You don't get to decide what honor looks like in my culture." Elias didn't argue. He just looked at her deeply and quietly, the way her chest rose and fell with anger, the cut above her brow, the ache he felt, because even in fury, she was the only thing in this galaxy that made him feel whole. "I know," Elias said gently, "but I couldn't just stand there and watch." Kaelara's lips parted, but no sound came at first. Then she whispered, voice raw, "I've lost status." She looked away from him. "They'll say I let you leash me, that I hid behind a human." Elias stepped forward again, slowly. "Then say it, end it. If I've made you ashamed—" Kaelara cut him off, grabbing the chest plate of his armor and yanking him forward. "I'm not ashamed," she snapped. Her voice dropped to a tremble. "I'm furious. You're the only thing I've ever claimed for myself, and now they'll take that from me too." "They won't," Elias said firmly. "They will," Kaelara whispered. "Because I can't keep defending us while you keep trying to protect me." For a long moment, they stood still. Two warriors who had crossed too many battlefields to count, now brought low by love and pride, and the bitter clash between them. The body of the defeated warrior was dragged off. The crowd had begun to murmur again. One of the tigers sat and stared at Elias with unblinking gold eyes. Kaelara released her grip on him. She turned toward the ceremonial stairs that led back to her family's viewing tier. "You'll be summoned," Kaelara said without turning around. "There will be a trial, not just for you, for me." Elias asked quietly, "And if they force you to cast me aside?" Kaelara hesitated. Her voice, when it came, was barely more than a growl. "Then I'll make them bleed for the asking." And she walked away, sun gleaming off her armor, tail snapping behind her with every angry step. One of the tigers fell into stride beside her like a loyal sentinel. Elias remained alone in the middle of the sand. The heat of the arena pressed in on him, but the warmth in his chest had vanished. All that was left was the weight of what he'd done and what it would cost them. He hadn't meant to shame her, but he would rather be hated by Kaylara than bury her. They locked Elias beneath the spire of Thal. It wasn't a cell exactly. The Eshthari called it a reflective hold, but the walls were plated with black obsidian, pulsing faintly with suppression fields. The space was buried 3 floors underground. No windows, no guards, no timekeeping. Just the low hum of alien machinery and a single vertical column of amber light that tracked his movements like an unblinking eye. Elias sat on the cot, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. His cheek still stung where Kaylara had slapped him in the arena. He hadn't moved in hours. There wasn't anywhere to go. The door hissed open. She entered like a thunderclap in silk. Kaylara walked in without armor, without weapons. She wore a long robe of ceremonial orange gold, woven with thin coils of light across the fabric, the energy matching the glow in her tiger-like ears. Her black hair was tied back, her face sharp with exhaustion and anger. Elias stood slowly. "Kaylara, what are you doing here? They said no one could see me." Kaylara stopped just inside the doorway. "I invoked the right of shadowed bond," she said flatly. "It grants me visitation." Elias raised an eyebrow. "That's an actual rule." Kaylara crossed her arms. "It is now. The council didn't anticipate needing laws for humans in royal beds." Elias studied her face, cautious. "So, should I take this as a good sign or a bad one?" Kaylara didn't answer. She moved past him and sat on the bench attached to the far wall. Her posture was too controlled. Her tail, partially visible beneath her robe, flicked once with irritation. After a moment, Kaylara said, "They want to strip me of my title." Elias exhaled through his nose. "Because I stepped in?" Kaylara met his gaze. "Because I chose you. Because I let you share my rituals, my hunts, my heart." Elias stepped closer. "I didn't ask for any of that." "No," Kaylara said sharply. "But you didn't say no either. And now it's ours to answer for." Elias's shoulders tensed. "What happens if they take your title?" "They won't take it," Kaylara said. "They'll challenge it." Elias frowned. "Challenge? How?" "They've called for a proving," she explained. "A sacred trial. They want you to face it." He blinked. "Me?" Kaylara nodded. "Yes, alone. No armor, no help. You'll be given a weapon, and you'll be judged in combat." Elias's voice dropped. "Judged how? Life or death?" Kaylara didn't soften. "Yes." "Jesus," Elias muttered. "So it's not a trial. It's a public execution with a chance of survival." Kaylara's eyes narrowed. "No one survives a proving by accident. If you win, it means the gods favor the bond." Elias gave a bitter laugh. "And if I lose?" "Then I am expected to sever the connection," Kaylara said, publicly, without mourning. Elias stared at her for a moment, then asked, "Will you do that?" Kaylara's voice wavered for the first time. "No, but I might not get the choice." Elias sat down across from her. "Do you remember the ridge outside Zurakesh, the crash site?" Kaylara tilted her head. "The one where I drank from a cactus and spent the next hour interrogating a glowing frog?" Elias allowed a small smile. "Yeah, that one. You called me barely tolerable." "I meant it," Kaylara said, though her expression softened. Elias looked down. "I almost kissed you that night." Kaylara's voice dropped to a whisper. "You should have." "I had leech burns," Elias said. "I smelled like rot." "I didn't care," Kaylara replied. "I would have kissed you first, but I was afraid it would ruin everything." Elias looked up again. "Guess we ruined it anyway." Kaylara's eyes were hard but glassy. "We didn't ruin it, Elias. We made it real. They don't hate us because we broke their rules. They hate us because they saw what we are, and they can't control that." Elias rubbed his jaw. "And they think making me fight will fix that?" Kaylara stood slowly. They think it will remind everyone that I am part of the old blood and that I can still be broken if I stray. Elias's brow furrowed. You're not broken. Kylara looked at him. I will be, if I lose you. Silence stretched between them. Finally Elias asked, Why did you come here? Kylara answered without hesitation. Because I couldn't stand the silence upstairs. Because no one's saying it aloud, but everyone expects me to let them kill you. Elias took a slow breath. Do you? Kylara stepped closer. No. He looked at her carefully. Is there any part of you that wishes I hadn't stepped into that fight? Kylara's answer was quiet. Every part of me. Elias's heart clenched. But then she continued. Kylara said, Every part of me wishes you had trusted me, believed I could survive it, that I could choose what loss meant. Elias's voice cracked. Then why are you still here? Because none of that matters anymore, Kylara replied. I love you, and now the entire empire knows. He stepped forward. Kylara, I need you to say it. I love you, she repeated. I never wanted to say it in a cell, but this is where we are. The chamber pulsed with a sudden low chime. A voice spoke through the walls, alien and formal. The trial was set. Sundown, one weapon, one fate. Kylara straightened. They'll take you to the proving fields within the hour. Elias stood still. And if I win? Kylara said, then the bond is sealed, in public, in blood and breath. You'll no longer be a secret. You'll be consort to a future queen. Elias nodded. And if I lose? Kylara's eyes burned. Then I will burn this place down. I swear it. He reached out, brushing his fingertips along her sleeve. You don't have to fight for me. Kylara shook her head. I'm not. I'm fighting for us. Elias stepped back as the guards approached outside the chamber. He looked at her one last time. I won't die for them, but I'd bleed for you. Kylara's voice was steady. Then bleed well. And then she was gone. Elias closed his eyes. The proving awaited. Tomorrow he would fight, not to prove his strength, but to prove that love didn't need permission. The proving ground was built to make gods bleed. Elias stood at the center of the sacred circle, sand hot beneath his boots, sun burning overhead. The arena was smaller than the public Colosseum, but more ancient, carved into the red stone of the high desert cliffs, with jagged obsidian totems marking the corners. Hundreds of Eshthari nobles watched from elevated platforms, their gold-veined robes rippling in the wind. And above them all, seated on the throne of judgment, was Kylara. She wore her royal battle regalia now, black and gold plates etched with ancestral runes, her tiger-striped cloak draped behind her like a mantle of fire. Her eyes never left him. Elias kept his breathing steady. His weapon was simple, a twin-bladed staff, humming faintly with kinetic charge. No armor, no shield, no promises. An elder priest stepped forward. The ancient alien's voice echoed through the arena. Let this proving begin, as it has for 1,000 cycles. If the outsider falls, so too does the unworthy bond. If he stands, the union is sanctified. Across the circle, the challenger stepped out. Elias had expected a bruiser, something big, slow, overconfident. Instead, they sent a shadow. The Eshthari woman moved like smoke, tall and wiry, her face hidden behind a veil of dark steel mesh. She wielded twin curved blades, held low like talons. Her name was Velsari, a warden, an executioner, and Kylara's distant cousin. Kylara had warned him once, if the council truly wanted blood, they'd send Velsari. Elias whispered under his breath, figures. The gong rang. Velsari struck first, a blur of motion that barely made sound. Elias blocked the first swipe but missed the feint that followed, a shallow slice across his ribs. Blood dripped quickly, staining the sand. Elias gritted his teeth. You're fast, he muttered aloud. Velsari didn't reply. From her throne, Kylara didn't move, but her claws gripped the armrests of the seat. She felt every blow. Elias adjusted his grip on the staff and circled, waiting. His mind flashed with memories. Kylara's smile the first time she let him feed her tiger, the way she laughed with her whole chest, The night she let her guard down and touched her forehead to his like it meant something sacred. It had. He had no clan, no sigil, no right to be here. But he had her. Velsari came again, this time with a spin that nearly caught his leg. Elias dropped low, swept her feet, and struck with the back end of his staff. She twisted mid-air, landing cat-like and unharmed. Elias exhaled sharply. "Of course you're good at this." Velsari finally spoke, voice cold, filtered through her veil. "You do not belong in her bloodline." Elias narrowed his eyes. "I don't need to." He charged. They collided in the center. Dust, sparks, movement too fast for most to follow. For every strike Elias landed, he took one in return. His left arm was burning, his thigh bleeding from a graze. But Velsari was breathing harder now, slower to pivot. She wasn't invincible. From above, Kalara's voice rang out, clear, fierce, cracking through the air. "Elias, remember who you are." Elias barked a bitter laugh as he dodged a blade. "Still working on that?" He shifted low, feinted left, and used the staff's rear charge to blast Velsari back against a stone pillar. She hit hard. The crowd gasped. Velsari stood, limping. Her voice was steel. "If you win, you shame her." Elias's reply was quiet, meant only for her. "No, if I lose, I bury her." They clashed again. This time Elias let instinct take over. He moved not like a soldier, but like a survivor. Like a man with nothing to prove, only something to protect. When Velsari overextended, he twisted beneath her arm and drove the blunt edge of his staff hard into her side. She dropped to one knee. Elias raised the weapon again and stopped. Blood poured from her mouth. Her head hung forward. She wasn't rising. The silence in the arena was suffocating. Elias lowered the staff. He turned to face the throne. "I don't need to kill her," Elias said loudly. "I only needed to show you I could. The rest, that's not strength. That's cruelty." The elder priest rose, unsure. "The right demands a kill." Kailara stood. Her voice was sharp. "Then rewrite it." The priest hesitated. Kailara's voice rose with thunder. "He has earned the breath bond. Any who challenge it must face me next." No one spoke. Velsari coughed behind him. "He is hers." The priest bowed his head. "So it shall be." A great wind swept through the proving grounds, and with it, the ceremonial tiger from Kailara's court descended the cliff path, silent as moonlight. The crowd parted as it passed. Elias watched, confused, as the tiger padded to his side. It looked up at him, its golden eyes glowing with strange recognition. Kailara approached slowly, walking down from the throne with regal grace. Elias asked, "What's happening?" Kailara didn't smile, but her voice was softer than it had been in days. "The guardian beast has accepted you. That means the bond is real, permanent. You are mine now, in body, blood, and breath." Elias looked at the tiger, then at her. "And you?" Kailara stopped in front of him. "I've always been yours, even when I didn't want to be." She placed a clawed hand against his heart. "Kneel." Elias dropped to one knee. Kailara extended her hand, and the tiger brushed its muzzle against his shoulder. A surge of warmth filled his chest. Heat, recognition, something ancient and deep that stirred in his bones. He gasped. Kailara whispered, "The bond is sealed. They can never take this from us now." Elias stood slowly. "So, I'm royalty now?" Kailara's grin was small but real. "No, you're worse. You're my consort." Elias winced. "Sounds like a lot of responsibility." "It is," Kailara replied, "and I expect you to make me look weak at least 3 more times before the season ends." He smirked. "Only 3?" Kailara leaned in, her voice a breath against his ear. "Try not to die first." They stood there, warrior and queen, surrounded by silence and dust and blood and watching eyes. But in that moment, they were untouchable. Together. The smoke from the bond ceremony still clung to Elias's skin as they entered the Hall of Verdicts. The chamber was cold, carved from pale stone veined with crystal, and shaped like a spiral descending into judgment. At the lowest point stood the Circle of 13, the High Council of the Flamebound. Their robes shimmered with living light. They did not rise as Kalara entered. They did not acknowledge Elias at all. Kalara walked with deliberate, controlled steps, her shoulders squared. She wore no armor now, only the black ceremonial mantle of her line. Elias followed behind her, every muscle taut. The guardian tiger paced beside them like a silent flame. The head of the council, a withered male named Thalvor, spoke without warmth. "You violated sacred precedent." Kalara didn't blink. The rite of proving was fulfilled. He stood the trial. He was accepted by the guardian. Another elder, cloaked in silver threads, sneered. The proving was incomplete. He spared his opponent. Elias stepped forward and said firmly, "Because killing her would have proved nothing. Mercy is not weakness." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Thalvor turned his gaze on Elias, eyes cold. "You do not speak in this hall." Kalara raised her voice. "He does now. By blood and breath, he is bound to me." The silence that followed was sharp enough to bleed. Another elder, the youngest among them, leaned forward. Her voice was silk and venom. "You endanger the unity of the realm. The Eshthari do not bond with outworlders. Our history forbids it." Kalara replied without hesitation. "History bends to truth, and the truth is that I chose him." Thalvor's voice was low and final. "Then the court must answer. If you refuse to annul the bond, you will forfeit your claim to succession. The title of heir to the flame-bound throne will pass to another." Elias turned to Kalara, stunned. "What are they saying?" Kalara didn't take her eyes off the council. "They're demanding I choose the throne, or you." Elias's voice faltered. "Kalara, you don't have to do this." Kalara's response was quiet, but steady. "Yes, I do." Thalvor raised a hand. "Choose now. Speak the bond's end, or step aside as heir." Kalara stepped forward. "I do not renounce the bond." Gasps echoed. A few elders rose. Kalara's voice rose like fire. "I step down." Elias stared at her. "You're serious?" Kalara turned to him. "I was born into power. You were carved into it, one choice at a time. They fear that. They fear us." Thalvor's voice thundered. "You disgrace your bloodline." Kalara lifted her chin. "No, I honor it. For the first time in my life, I choose not out of duty, but love." The youngest elder spoke again, her tone sharp. "And what of the people? What of the clans you were meant to unite?" Kalara's eyes did not waver. "Let them see me as I am, not a symbol, a leader, one who bleeds, chooses, and burns for what she believes." Elias stepped to her side. "You're not alone anymore." Thalvor's gaze moved to Elias. "Then you may leave together, as exiles." Kalara laughed once, short, bitter. "You won't kill us?" Thalvor replied. "No, you'll serve as a lesson. You will be erased but not martyred." Kalara tilted her head. "Cowards." Thalvor didn't react. The chamber began to darken. Runes glowed along the walls. Exile protocol. The air grew heavier. The symbolism was clear. Kalara and Elias no longer belonged here. Elias turned to Kalara, voice soft. "Are you sure?" Kalara looked at him. "They've never seen me more clearly." He nodded. "Then I'm with you." A moment later, the council's final judgment rang out. "Let it be recorded. Kalara of the Blood Flame has surrendered her claim. The human outsider is deemed null. The bond is declared unnatural." Kalara turned her back on them. "Then let your laws burn in the dust behind us." Without another word, she took Elias's hand. Together, they walked from the Hall of Verdicts. As they ascended the steps toward the light, Elias whispered, "You really just gave up your crown for me?" Kalara replied without looking back. "No, I gave it up for myself. You were just the first thing I ever wanted more than power." Elias squeezed her hand. "Where do we go now?" Kalara exhaled. "Where they can't follow." Behind them, the runes of exile flared to full brightness, sealing their names out of history. But the world would remember them anyway, because love, once burned into the bone, never forgets. The suns were low when they crossed the ashen divide. Elias's boots crunched over the red rock of the canyon floor, and his lungs ached from the dry air. Behind him, the path they had taken from the flame-bound capital was vanishing into heat shimmer. Ahead the land stretched wide and hostile, open plains of cracked clay, scattered ruins, and sky so vast it felt like time itself. Kalara walked beside him in silence, her tiger close at her heel. She had shed her ceremonial cloak, stripped of any mark of her rank. What she wore now was traveler's leather and steel, dusty and sun-scuffed. But the way she held herself, that hadn't changed. She walked like someone who had lost everything, and chosen it freely. Elias broke the silence. "How far until we find shelter?" Kalara replied. "There's an abandoned outpost just beyond the ridge. It was used before the Unification Wars. No one dares settle there now." Elias asked, "Because of ghosts?" Kalara allowed a flicker of humor. "Because of memory. Same thing." They walked on. The tiger's tail brushed Elias's leg as it passed, as if claiming him again. Kalara spoke again, voice quieter. "They will forget us." Elias shook his head. "Not all of them." At first they thought the sound behind them was wind. But then it came again. Footsteps, soft and deliberate, crunching over the same cracked ground they had just left. Elias turned sharply, hand on the grip of his staff. 3 figures emerged from the heat. A woman in priest's robes, a tall male with a bow slung over his back, a child barely into his teens, his face painted with old clan marks, walking with determination. Elias stepped forward cautiously. "You're following us?" The robed woman bowed low. "We are walking beside you." Kalara narrowed her eyes. "You were in the gallery." The priestess nodded. "I saw truth, not in the bond ceremony, but in your refusal to kneel." The tall archer said, "We do not want to be ruled by those who fear their own blood." Kalara blinked, caught off guard. "You shouldn't have come," the priestess said gently, "but we did. There are more, waiting further back. Hunters, pilots, exiles like you. Not many, but enough." Elias looked at Kalara. "You told them to burn the laws." Kalara whispered, "I didn't think anyone would listen." Elias smiled faintly. "You were wrong." The tiger growled softly, approving. Kalara turned to the priestess. "If you follow us, you're marked. They'll hunt you too." The woman bowed again. "Then let them come." Elias asked, "What are you calling yourselves?" The archer shrugged. "We haven't decided." The boy said firmly, "We are the Ashborn." Kalara looked to Elias. "A new clan." He nodded. "Built not on bloodlines, but on choice." Kalara stepped closer to the group. Her voice was clear, not regal, but real. "Then we walked together." They moved as one now, a small formation cutting through the ash plains beneath the twin suns. As night began to fall, Elias tilted his head back and looked at the stars, no longer from within a nation, or a war, or a council chamber, but as a man finally free. Kalara joined him at the cliff's edge later, once camp was built. She said nothing at first, just watched him as he stared into the dark horizon. Elias turned and spoke softly. "You regret it?" Kalara shook her head. "No, but I still grieve it." "That's allowed," Elias said. Kalara's voice dropped to a whisper. "You still want this life?" Elias stepped forward, pressing his forehead to hers. "There's no other life where I'm not with you." She kissed him, slow, unguarded. Then Kalara looked back at the scattered campfire sparks of their growing clan. "We'll have to protect them," Elias replied. "We always were the shield and the blade." Kalara asked, "And if they come after us?" Elias shrugged. "Then we show them that exile was just the beginning." Kalara looked toward the stars. "We are not done writing our story." Elias nodded. "Let's make the next chapter unforgettable." As the wind swept over the ridge and the stars brightened in the alien sky, they stood together, no longer heir and outsider, but founders, of something new, of something earned, of something that would last.